Ooh. Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, and fellow anime lovers, the mosquitoes are eating me alive this summer. But regardless, we are back. So, I recently saw Summertime Render, or Summertime Rendering. It has a couple different names online, so I don't know which one is the actual one, but I will refer to it as either or, probably Summertime Rendering, because that's what I know it as. Either way, I've seen Summertime Rendering, and I'm here to talk about it. So, to kind of give a little bit of background on what Summertime Rendering is, obviously, it's an anime, and it's an anime that is very surprising and very shocking. Now, I was recommended this anime, Summertime Rendering, from a friend of mine that watches anime with me. His name is Jalik. You can actually see him live at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel sometimes, as if he's some sort of like zoo attraction. Either way, Jalik recommended this to me, and he's like, "Yeah, let's watch this thing." And I was like, "Oh, okay. This kind of is coming out of nowhere." Jalik usually recommends me very like top shows, very sometimes obscure shows like this one, but most of the time it's shows that we're getting to because I've been employed for the last year and a half, at least 6 months ago, that we haven't gone to that we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to big shows. So I was kind of taken back by Jalik recommending Summertime Running. I'm like, okay, what is this? And the best way he described it is sort of almost like a horror thriller. And I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. What else can you tell me about this? And essentially, Summertime Rendering, the thing that really, really got me interested in it, because a lot of anime is out there and a lot of it is ass, especially when dealing with the topic that Summertime Rendering does. They do it very, very wrong a lot of the time. It's very easy to fuck this, I don't want to say genre, but this sort of topic up that Summertime Rendering deals with. But the main thing that gave me hope was the fact that Summertime Rendering was made by the creator, as far as I know, of ReZero. And when I heard that, I was like, oh shit. Now, I haven't seen all of the other works of the creator of ReZero, because I know he made Vivi's Fluorite Eye as well. I believe that's what it's called. And that's also on my list. So eventually I'm going to come back here and be like, so I watched Vivi's as well. But for now, I actually saw Summertime Rendering before that. Now, I have watched at least what is currently out of ReZero. I'm all caught up on that. Now, Summertime Rendering is very much related to this in the sense that it has really good writing. And one of the things that's really good with ReZero, and apparently, hopefully with VV's Fluorite Eye song, is the writing. I heard the writing is exceptionally well, and I will be honest, in Summertime Rendering, it's extremely well as well. So to kind of give a little spice to the seasoning here on what we're going to be talking about and what Summertime Rendering kind of left me with the impression, it was really, really surprisingly good. I am shocked by how good it was. So, what is Summertime Rendering about? Well, first of all, I think almost anyone who likes a good story will like this anime. There's not many tropes in this anime that aren't done well. There is some trope stuff, especially towards the end, and we'll get to that, because this anime isn't perfect, but it really, really did knock me out of left field with just how well it does things. So, I really, really don't want to spoil too much, and as I say in all my videos, we're going to be going into very light spoilers in this discussion of it. But for the most part, I'm going to glaze it. It was really well. Excuse me. So, Summertime Rendering is essentially about a boy, or I guess a young man, named Shinpei Ajiro. And Shinpei Ajiro used to live and was born on an island. And this island is very isolated from the mainland of Japan. It's a little island. And he comes back after, I believe it was 2 years. And him coming back to the island is a pretty normal thing. Now, the reason he's coming back is a little bit sad. It's because one of his friends has moved on. Now, he's coming back to sort of pay his respect, but he also starts to notice certain things that are, let's just say, not normal. And he has to kind of figure out, okay, what's going on and what's happening. Now, it does get way more than that. I basically gave a little morsel, a little test of what the plot is actually about. But that's to kind of whet your palate, so to say. There's a lot more that I can't say, and I have to be very careful because this isn't necessarily an action anime. There is action in it, sure, not much, but it's mainly, I would say, a psychological anime where it's like, oh fuck, this anime had me thinking. This anime had so many twists and turns with its story where I was like, holy shit. Now, the main thing I will say that I will slightly spoil is they do involve time. And this anime does one of the best things I've seen where it doesn't treat the viewer as stupid. You, the audience member, if you've seen other time related anime where either, there's precognition, there's time travel, there's parallel universes, all these other things, they do them really wrong where, especially in the instances, and I can't name one off the top of my head sadly because I probably haven't seen one in a while, but there's a lot of instances where if there's a time loop, let's just say in ReZero, I'll take ReZero as the example. Let's say there's a time loop. The person then has to go back, explain to all the people what happened, convince them that, yes, I'm actually from the future, or I'm actually from the past, and I've done this before, or this is what's going to happen. And there's sort of this whole cat and mouse game of convincing. And it sort of gets annoying to the point if it's done excessively, again, like in ReZero. In ReZero, Subaru, and this is a slight spoiler for ReZero, I guess, Subaru does this a lot. Now, I really truly think, I don't know if this was made before or after ReZero, I'm assuming after, because it really feels like ReZero was the test run, and Summertime Rendering was the perfected product. There's a lot of similarities between ReZero and Summertime Rendering. If you like ReZero just at a base level, it's not going to be the same. It's more grounded in reality. This isn't in a fantasy world, it is in the real world. It's in an actual, I'm assuming, island of Japan, but it's very, in most ways, grounded in reality. It's not fantastical, it's not mythical, it's not like a fucking isekai. It really isn't. But in many ways, it's very parallel to ReZero in terms of the storytelling, story of the writing. I would even say it's better in some ways. If you like fantasy, you're gonna like ReZero. If you like just good story, you're gonna like this. And I swear to God, at times I really felt like, because the story is short, it's not like ReZero where it's gonna get a second season. It's mainly done. It's a nice little, 25 episode adventure, so a little longer than usual, which I think should be the standard. I think 12 episodes is really quick for certain things. Some anime can definitely end in 12, but the fact that Summertime Rendering was 25, I think was an absolute blessing. I think they rendered out things greatly, and they really told a great story. But if you like ReZero, you're going to like this, but this does things way, way, way better than ReZero. Where they put little things in, it's like the author is self-aware. The guy who made this shit is self-aware, and he knows, like, oh, to convince them it's going to be annoying, this, and that. And it really was like an eye-opener when a certain thing happened, and I'm like, wow, they're really just going balls to the wall, and they do put in things to explain it. It's not like it doesn't make sense or it's out of nowhere, but a lot of the pain points of time-related anime are just not here, and it really just lets you get right into the action. There's not much explaining, and the explaining is pretty good, albeit not so much at the end. But for the most part, everything that happens is very well explained. It makes sense, and it's just logical. It's like, oh, fuck, this makes sense. Like, okay, wow, because this is in place, they don't have to do this, or these people know that. And again, I can't really give hard, concrete details, but just know that it doesn't treat the audience member as stupid because they don't lay things out very obviously. There's a lot of secrets, and there's a lot of things that you could pick up on if you're intelligent enough or if you're observant enough. There's a lot of little hints they drop about certain things where it's like, oh my god, like I just realized something, and you might either be right or wrong, but there's a lot of guesses you can make because they don't spell it out for you, and I really, really appreciate that. Again, it doesn't treat you like you're stupid. It gets rid of a lot of the pain points of anime, but the main story is just really, really good. I think all the characters are good. The voice acting is great, and the biggest thing I just have to suck off is the story. The story, just from like almost up to down, was really, really, really good. There's a lot of twists and turns, and that's the main thing I want to emphasize. When you think you know what's going on, it's basically Ajiro's side, Shinpei, versus like the main antagonist or whatever the problem is. And there's so many times where you think, okay, Shinpei's fucked, or you think, okay, the enemy's fucked, but they turn it around. There's so many twists and turns where it's like, I don't want to say the world feels alive because that would mean there's a broader world here, but the world in here is very, very well done. I think all the side characters are pretty good. Some don't get too much limelight, but they're still very well done. And it's just really, really good. I think all the characters were enjoyable. I think the whole story is just, it's just great. It's such a shame I can't spoil, and I don't want to include a spoiler section, but it's just a really good fucking story. And again, there's horror for sure. There's thriller, there's action a little bit. There's some fight scenes. There's some suspense, and it gets a little bit into the occult. So it's not too grounded in reality, but it kind of is. And as you learn more, you get you get more invested. And again, all the characters are great, all the stories great. It's really, really good. And to see the way Shinpei does things, it's realistic. Now, the main bad thing I do have to say about the anime is towards the end, it falls apart a little bit. Things start getting convoluted because all throughout the anime, you are learning new things. But towards the end, it does get a little bit tropey where things kind of like, there's no more reveals. Like, it just kind of gets very, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but it's kind of like, oh, okay, I thought there was going to be some big thing, but it's kind of just no surprises here anymore. And they're kind of just getting business done. And the way they explained things at a certain point, you kind of get a little lost. And that's what happened to me, where by the end, they just kind of added so many new things or tried to explain current things where, and again, I really can't talk about what it is, but it does get a little bit confusing with how far they push certain boundaries, where there's a lot of moving parts to things that don't necessarily get explained fully because, again, they don't spoon feed you it, which is good. You're kind of learning as you go along, kind of like Shinpei does in the story. But because of that, you don't fully understand things and they don't really take the time to explain, which is not a bad thing. But again, it does leave you kind of confused. The ending was pretty good. I think the ending was all right. Again, it's just a little muddied where it's like it's a little confusing. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack. But overall, I actually really, really enjoyed the ending. And there's something specifically at the very end that I was hoping and praying for that I hate that they do in anime, especially time related anime. And I won't say what it is because that would be a big spoiler. But let's just say, with the literal last scene in this anime, all of my fears washed away, and I was happy. I was like, thank God. The final fight is okay. The final conflict, I should say, is okay. And overall, it's just really good. There's a lot of interconnectedness. There's a lot of ships. There's some romance here and there. There's some comedy too, sure. But overall, this anime really gets you thinking, and I think it's time done right. I don't want to say what it is, but it's really done right. There's just a little bit of confusion with how they explain the powers and stuff, and there's a little bit of inconsistencies sometimes, unless I'm just not understanding right, which again could be because I got lost in translation because there was a lot of stuff being shoved at us. But there is just so many twists and turns in this like mystery, horror, psychological thriller action that I was just like, wow, this is good. Again, it really feels like the author took ReZero, learned from it, and made it well. Because I'll tell you this, man, what Shinpei has to go through, it's tough. It's fucking tough. I'm like, oh fuck. He really like used ReZero. I really feel as a stepping block, and it shows. I really like this author, man. He really makes good stories. It's fucking crazy. It's really good, and a lot of the characters are hot too. But either way, with that being said, sadly I can't explain more because again, as I keep saying, spoilers. But overall, I would probably rate Summertime Rendering with just how shocking it was, and I'm scared to do this because I did this before with JJK season 1 where something better came out and I was like, wow, I kind of feel bad. But at this current moment, with everything I've seen, and I've been around the block a couple times, I'm an old man at the age of 26. I'm an old man, so I've seen some stuff. I think with how it does things, with how well it does things, and with like how little it spoon feeds you and it just lets you experience the story and it gets right to the action, there's barely any bullshit. There was no time where I felt like, damn, like we have to rewatch this, or damn, we have to get through this. Like, it didn't feel like there was any busy work. It was so fucking good. I am very tempted, and I'm going to rate this 9.5 out of 10 she days. You all don't know what she days are, but if you watch this and you see it, it's like god fucking damn. This is honestly an anime that, it's its own little slice. It's not probably going to have another season. I doubt it'll have an OVA or a movie at all. It kind of got rounded out pretty well to where I think if you're not into anime, I think this could be a good watch, even if that's the case. I think you could show this to someone and just have a good time. It's a little series you could binge or just watch over time. I think this is good for almost all audiences. Granted, I'm kind of biased, but I really do feel like even if you're not into anime, this is a really good story, and it gets a little anime-like because again, it's not wholly realistic. There's a lot of stuff that happens that is a little out there because they do have powers and stuff that eventually crop up, but it is also very realistic at the same time. It's not a fantasy world. There's not crazy fucking blowing up powers and shit. It's decently grounded. Now that might be me giving off the bad impression of there's nothing that happens here that's not abnormal, and there is abnormal stuff, but it is decently grounded and it's a really good story. I think A lot of people enjoy it, and especially if you like the trope of time and manipulation of time, and just a good mystery in general, and just how the fuck do you get over this? I love the back and forth in the show. The back and forth was one of the best things where it's like, damn, what are they gonna do now? Or like, oh, they finally won, and then to see them like not win, and then to see them on the opposite end of like, wow, they're getting fucked. How are they gonna like solve this? I really, really enjoyed the whole process. It was a really intellectual anime, and I really enjoyed it. 9.5 cheetahs out of 10. That's my rating of Summertime Running. Absolutely amazing. I love the author, and I love you if you watch me at Twitch TV/Technics channel. Anyway, that's it. Bye bye.